a comparison of two quantities by division. So in other words, it looks just like a fraction. Two quantities compared using division. And then a proportion is related, but it's a little bit different because it is an equation. What must an equation have? What is an equation? Yeah, not, well, yes, but an equal sign is really what I was looking for. Because I could have an equation and I want to like solve for that equation. I don't technically have an answer yet, but anyway, an equation has an equal sign. And a proportion is a specific type of equation that states two ratios are equal. Okay. So let's write a proportion using this original ratio that I gave. So proportion using 2/3. So what is a ratio that is equal to 2/3? Yeah, 4/6. Then how did you know that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So if I just multiply the top and the bottom by the same number, I'll come up with a ratio that is equal to that original ratio. Okay, and now let's look at this example. So I've got a bunch of these navigational items over here. I've got globes and I've got maps. How many total navigational items do I have? Good. How many are globes? And how many are maps? Perfect. So for every 4 maps, there are 6 globes. Or if I wanted to simplify that, just did this. Try again, try again. Good, yeah, every 2 maps, there are 3 globes. So if I wanted to, because that's dividing both by 2, right? Okay. All right, so I have a bunch of different ways I can write ratios. I can write it out as like a sentence. For every 2 maps, there are 3 globes. I can also just write it as like this, 2, 2, 3. It's basically saying the same thing. 2 for every 3, 2 for each 3. It's all kind of saying the same thing. I can also write it like this, 2 colon, not semicolon, that looks like a semicolon, 2 colon 3, but I say it the exact same way, 2 to 3, saying the same thing, just writing it a different way. Or like I said, we can write it kind of like a fraction, 2 to 3, all saying the same thing, all ratios. And even though a ratio looks like a fraction, it can kind of act like a fraction, it's not really the same thing. Because a fraction is talking about a part of a whole. So it's talking about if I'm looking at 2/3, I'm looking at it as a fraction. 2/3 is like saying 2/3 of the whole. 2/3 of my pizza was eaten. I have 1/3 left. Versus a ratio is looking at 2 different quantities. So I'm looking at 2 oranges compared to 3 apples, 2 maps compared to 3 globes. So 2 separate quantities. And we can compare quantities 3 different ways. So we've really just been looking at part compared to part. So looking at 2 maps compared to 3 globes, right? But I can also look at it as part compared to whole. So 2, or I actually want to say 4 maps compared to the whole, which is 10. So 4 maps out of the 10 total items. Or similar, but just the opposite, I can look at the whole compared to the part. So I have 10 total items, and 6 of them are globes. So I can look at ratios in different ways, and I can kind of manipulate them around. And it just depends on the context. It depends on what we're looking for. But the important piece is that we have to remain consistent within the problem we're working on. And we'll see more of that once we get into like word problems. But for right now, we are just going to talk about really simply solving a proportion problem like this. So let's go ahead and figure this out. So when I say solve a proportion, what do I mean? Like, what kind of answer am I looking for, do you think?
What x equals?
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to figure out what does x equal. Any ideas on how to start doing that for a proportion like this? How do I figure out what is x? You do divide. You do divide, but that's not our first step. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways we can think about it. The first way I'm going to show you works every single time. It doesn't matter what the proportion is. It always, always works. We can just cross multiply. So kind of like butterfly method. I multiply across the diagonal. So I multiply 10 times 4, that gives me 40. And 6 times x, that gives me 6x. Those two things are equal to each other. So now how am I going to figure out what x is?
Divide 40 by 6.
Good, I divide both sides by 6. So my 6's will cancel out over here. So I've got x equals, what's 40 divided by 6? It's not a whole number. Good, yeah, 6.6 repeating. Okay, so we cross multiply and set up an equation. And then we divide by that number in front of the x to figure out what x is. So let's do that in number 2 again. So what two numbers do I multiply in number 2? Yeah, good, 5 times 5, which gives us 25. And then what other two things do I multiply?
4.
What's 4 times x?
4.
And now what do I do to solve for x?
Divide both sides.
Not multiply by 4, but divide by 4. So what does x equal? Very good, 6.25. Let's skip down to 5 and 6. So again, what two numbers do I multiply?
7 and 8 and 3 and 1.
Good, 7 times 8, 3 times r. What's 7 times 8? Okay. And 3 times r? 3r. So now what do I do? Divide by? Good. So what does r equal? Very good. So are you noticing the pattern? What are we doing first? Yeah, it's a butterfly method, and then what do? We do multiplication and then division. So really what we're doing is we're just multiplying the two numbers that are across from each other. So 3 times 8, that gives me 24. And then I divide by that third number. So that's a little shortcut. I multiply across the diagonal, then divide by that third number. So what's 24 divided by 5? Number 6.
5.
Yeah, 4.8. Good. But then sometimes we have another opportunity to look at this a different way. So in number 3, look at what's happening in this first ratio. What do I need to do to 3 to get to 9? Multiply by 3. So that means if this ratio is equal, then I just have to take 4 and multiply it by 3. So what's A? Yeah. We can do the same thing in number 4. What's the pattern?
Times 4.
Not times 4. It would be plus 4. But plus doesn't work. Good. Times 3. So then what's X?
27.
Well, it doesn't help that we have to go fast this week too. But you're going to have time to practice more tomorrow as well. And the more you do it, the more like fluent it becomes, where you can just kind of see what to do. I think the easiest way to do it though is always going to be the cross multiplying. Like set it up butterfly method and write it out. 4 times 4, that's 16, and that equals x times 3, that's 3x. And then what do? Divide by 3. Very good. So x equals 16 divided by 3, which is, very good, 5.3 repeating. Okay, in number 8, do you see a pattern? Yeah, we multiply by 3 to go this way, so I could do it like that. But also we can look at it horizontally as well. So how do I go from 2 to 4? Times 2, so I just need to do 6 times 2, which is 12. So that's my x. So when it works out like that, it is you can see it pretty quickly. But not all of them work like that. Like in number 9, I don't know off the top of my head, 7 times what gives me 10? Or 3 times what gives me 10? I don't have an easy way to do it. So again, I just cross multiply. So I've got 7 times 3, that's 21, equals 10 times r, that's 10r. And then what do? Divide by 10 on both sides. So what does r equal? There you go. And number 10, someone tell me what to do. Cross multiply. So what 2 numbers do I multiply? 10 times 4, that's 40. And what does 40 equal? 7r. And then what do? Divide by 7. So r equals, very good, 5.71. Very good. All right, so you are going to work on the back of this paper. I'm going to come around in like 3 minutes and check one of your problems, and that'll be your grade for the day. Okay? I'm not going to tell you which problem it is until I get to your desk. So I want you to start working. Okay? Try to do the same thing as what we were doing. Cross multiply, divide. She's going. When she gets back, you can go.
What about problems like this? Thirty-six. Goodbye. Okay. What about 19? Okay. Like the same thing. Just yeah. So we don't put these in the inbox.
This is like the difference of New York. Okay. Yeah, that's it. You should check the workbook. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 answer keys. You should check your work to make sure you got them all right. This is how I begin
David, did you check the book? Never saw you get up on there.
Oh, I think I was going to do it.
Wait, do you know if the other ones are right? Go and check it. Okay, so these papers just go in your folder. I got your grades for the day. I will have your test totally graded tomorrow. Pardon? I'll talk to you about it tomorrow. We just got 1 minute. Yes, you put that in your folder. Put that in your folder. We're gonna use it again tomorrow. I will have your test graded for you tomorrow, and I'll also have a new seating chart for the new unit tomorrow as well. Yes, yes. So if you missed the test last Thursday, you have to come in during lunchtime. Yes. I graded. Yes. What papers, what days are you gone? So I can't give you a whole lot of time to do it, but you can, So really the majority of it we did in class. So don't worry about it. It's just that test you'll have to make up. That's a big thing. Okay. Hey, and I'm sorry that I accused you of not telling the truth about going to the office. I went and I talked to Dr. Boniface and Mr. Nelson and Ms. Schmidt, and they all told me you weren't there. And then you told me that you were there, so I went and I checked again, and then the secretary said, oh yeah, she did come in. So I wasn't accusing you of lying. That's just the information that I was given, and our wires got crossed there. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Do you feel better? Yeah. Good.
I got CT scan on my head.
Oh no. You okay?
Yeah.
Good. So was it just last week you were gone?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything you really need to make up for me from last week. Is there anything I marked you missing?
I think like a frequency table for day 1, day 2, and day 3.
I think that was the 2 variable data. Maybe. So that was the 2 variable data. So let's grab day 2. I'll exempt you from day 3, but I'll have you do day 1 and day 2, okay?
Okay.
So for day 1, it's just this side of the paper, and then
I already did those. Okay. I have them at my house.
Okay, just bring them tomorrow then, okay?
I don't know what they look like.
Yeah, no problem. Usually in Google Classroom, I'll upload an image of it so you can tell which one is which, because you can't tell in PowerSchool, obviously. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Lee. Hi, B. How are you? Good. Yeah, cool. I'm about to leave my classroom. Okay, did you call for a reason? Oh, okay. It's a. Oh, honey, honey, I was crying on the inside. Believe me. You can cry during yoga tonight. Yeah.
So, am I bringing you home? Or are we going straight there?
No, we'll go straight there. Let me see if anyone's signed up. Hello? Hello? Oh, 2 people are signed up. Diane McBride and Tara. I don't know.
I gotta get out of here. But I'll give you a really big hug when I see you, okay? Okay, I love you.
I'm gonna leave home in like 3 minutes, okay?
Okay, babe.
Peace out.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Ciao.